See, everyone wants to know how much you need to actually get started with dropshipping. Now, some people are telling you $500 to $1,000, or some people are even saying that you can get started with zero with organic dropshipping. And to be honest, this just really isn't true. Look, if you want to start organic dropshipping, then that's your problem. But in this video, I'm going to give you the real number on what you're spending on, why you're spending on these things, and also the mistakes you can avoid in month 1 to avoid these cash flow issues. Now, as of recording this video, I've helped 3 students already get to 1K days within 2 weeks of being live, starting e-commerce from fresh. Now, these are all people running funnel dropshipping, doing paid ads, getting about 20 to 30% profit margins, with 1K days being that first milestone before they go to 5, 10, 20K days, just like I'm currently doing myself. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you what all 3 of them had in common before they even started. And stay around for point 3, because to be honest, that's the most important point that no one ever even talks about. By the way, everything I'm about to break down is specifically for funnel dropshipping. Now, if you don't know what that is, go check out my previous videos where I break it down fully. Funnel dropshipping is what got me to making 400k last month with my e-commerce business, 300k in April, and going from 0 to 100k of a brand new brand within 30 days of being live. And it's the exact same business model that 3 of my students are doing, that they got to 1K days within 2 weeks. Now, this is what we'll be going over today. Now, how much do you actually need to start dropshipping? Now, I'm going to go over the setup cost before you even need to spend a penny on ads, because I think a lot of people don't really reveal this. They talk about spending on ads, but there is a few little hidden costs at the start. So this is what we're going to go over. Now, I also have a warning that, this is the wrong video if you think you're going to start making money in dropshipping without even spending on ads. Because to be honest, like, organic dropshipping don't work. And even if it works, it's going to die out in 2 weeks. So you're just wasting your time there. Now, first setup is obviously company structure. Now, this is probably the most important of this whole thing because, without the company, unless you want to go in as a sole trader, which, I don't really recommend, it's not really going to work out. So I usually recommend everyone to go over UK, LTD or LLP. That depends if you reside in the UK or not. And this is obviously around $120. If you go over formation company and need to buy a virtual address, then this could be around $150 to $250. And this is obviously, non-negotiable if you actually want to be running a legit business. Now, Facebook structure. Now, this is obviously very important because we want your risk to be diverse. We don't want you to, have one profile, one BM, because if it gets blocked, then, you're pretty much on zero. Now, usually what I tell my students to do is buy a Facebook structure that consists of 2 business managers, 7 profiles, and also a page included. Now, this is obviously so like your pixel and your advertising's on different BMs. Obviously, if you're a beginner, this might not even make sense, but this is a one-time cost of $300. Now, you don't have to do this. If you do have 3 to 5 family accounts that are above 6 months to 12 months and that have been on Facebook for a long time, then yeah, this is fine. You won't need to actually pay for this. You could make your own structure. However, 3 of my students didn't have the family account, so they literally had to go for this. Now, obviously, you have to see it as an investment. Like, the way this sets you up is if you do counter issues with profile blocks or even an advertising BM block, your ads don't get affected. Everything is still fine. So it's obviously definitely a worth it investment, and also it's only a one-time cost. Now, the third cost is Funnelish. Now, this starts at $50 a month. They do have a 14-day free trial, so for those just getting started out, for your first 2 weeks, it's going to be for free, so that's perfect. Then we also use trendtrack.io. This is just a Chrome extension. This is actually free. They do offer paid plans, but I only use it so I can look at views easier and also download videos and stuff much faster, much easier. So this is for free. Then we got WeTrack.io. This one is $50 a month. Same with Funnelish, 14-day free trial. And yeah, to be honest, this is a no-brainer. WeTrack is the best in the game for pixel tracking, and you're gonna need to use someone. So yeah, definitely recommend WeTrack. Now, also Shopify, this is a no-brainer. We need this. Good thing about Shopify is that the first 3 months is literally $1. Now, obviously, if you have, other apps in Shopify, it's going to be more. But, usually for beginners, you might only need a few apps, $5, $10 a month. So, yeah, this is usually a low cost, either $1 a month or maybe upwards of $10 to $20 a month. So the ongoing cost for software, your subscriptions is usually about $150 to $200 a month. This is obviously including everything I went over after like your free trials run out and stuff like that. Now, me personally, I'm paying about 1 to 2K a month just on, apps and AI software. But for beginners, this is actually not needed. Just these apps I've said is more than enough, and yeah, it's going to cost you about $150, $200 a month. So your setup cost is roughly $500. Now, this would also depend on the company structure, on how much you pay for it, and also if you do need to buy a Facebook structure. Now, if you don't need to buy a Facebook structure, then you're obviously going to save out on that $300. So it might only be like $400 for you. For some people, it could be a bit more than 500, maybe 600-700, depending on, as I said, the company structure and if you do need to buy the Facebook structure. Now, this is obviously the testing budget. Now, why obviously the $500 alone isn't enough is because this is literally just set up. This is nothing to do with, you running ads or testing products. That's literally just so you can get up, you're legally set up, all the apps and stuff is all set up. So when you do start advertising, everything's set up correctly and done perfectly. Now, obviously, I got a warning here that make sure this is money you can technically afford to lose. Obviously, not your rent money, because, you're probably not going to pay your rent regardless. And, you don't want to just go in with this with your last $1 to $2K and you have no monthly income, because, the chances are it's not going to work out. Even if you have enough for testing, if you do find winners, how on earth are you actually going to scale it? So just make sure that this isn't like your last bits of money. And even if it is, if you have a job, then that can also be fine, just because, you're going to be having money coming in monthly. So this also depends on someone's situation. So I got $1.3K here now, because obviously this works out to be about $50 a day on ads. And obviously, I usually do test on CBOs of $50 a day. So this is usually what we spend a day per product. And obviously it's best to just top up your ad account with most of this, maybe put 1K on and leave the other 300 for maybe fulfillment with the supplier, or maybe you can top up again after. So yeah, man. So obviously I got a table here on paid ads versus organic dropshipping. Obviously paid ads is faster, it's more scalable, you can track what's working much easier because you're actually putting money into the system. And obviously validated testing, which is so important, because if products aren't validated, we're not even going to waste money testing them. So this is obviously something that's very important. Now, obviously organic dropshipping, which some people are still pushing in this day and age, which is, mind blowing, but it's obviously time intensive. You have to order the product from China or wherever you're ordering it from. That might take 1, 2, 3 weeks, even a month, depending on your supplier. Then you need to make content, which is obviously going to take long, and you have to actually be skilled at making content. So if you're not, then organic dropshipping is definitely not going to work. There's not really a real way to also track what's working, just because you're not actually putting money into the system. So, let's say, for example, you post a UGC video and it doesn't work, but that's only because you didn't put money into it. Because, the algorithm isn't going to reward you if you're not paying them. So, it's also something to consider, and also it dies out a lot faster. Now, as I said before, like, if all you have is $500 and that's your last $500, like, or even 1,000, like, it's not the right time to start with e-commerce. Like, get a 9 to 5, stack some money, and then come back to it and just go all in, because realistically, you want at least a couple thousand. Obviously, as I said, depending on the situation. If you have a 9 to 5, this is obviously going to differ, because, If you have money coming in monthly, then at least you're going to have money monthly to reinvest. But if you don't, you're going to need at least a few thousand, 100% to even get started. Now, point 3 is about the reality of cash flow in month 1. Now, this is what people won't tell you. Now, obviously, from the moment you go live, you're going to be spending minimum $30 to $50 a day on ads. You're going to be making sales, but you're not going to see a payout for 10 to 12 days. And this is what people actually don't talk about. Now, obviously, you'll still need to be paying your supplier daily, whether that's bank transfer, PayPal. I obviously recommend bank transfer. PayPal fees are quite high. Obviously, supply is connected to your store and, fulfills everything that comes through. So logistically, you ain't got to do anything. Now, also the thing is that you're going to be paying your supplier before Shopify pays you. So you're going to need money for the ads and for your supplier, and you haven't even received anything from PayPal. This is the hard thing about it. So obviously you're going to need enough cash to cover the gap. Now obviously the gap is this, right? So payout schedule. And this update has only been in for the last 6 to 9 months. And, a lot of people don't really speak about this, but with new stores now, the first 2 weeks, Shopify is paying you every 7 business days. Now that's business days. So in actual calendar days, it's 10 to 12 days. Now imagine you made 1K today and you're not going to get paid that 1K for 10 or 12 days. And then you do 1K every single day. So they've got like 10K of your money and you still haven't received anything. And you still need to run your ads. You still need to pay your supplier. So this is where it gets hard, especially for beginners or, someone who's been in the game, but their cash flow isn't the best. Maybe they haven't made enough profit yet or whatnot. Then obviously weeks 3 to 4, they reduce it to 5 business days. Now this still isn't the best, but this is much easier on your cash flow, 100%, because, 2 business days could be 2 to 4 calendar days. So this does actually make a big difference. And then from month 1 is finished, month 2 and beyond is 3 business days. Now, even with this, if you're scaling heavy, you can still run out of cash if you don't have enough money in the bank, 100%. But this is much easier for you to actually scale. And, 3 business days, that's the best you're going to get. There's no faster than that. So yeah, man, that's literally the goal. Just fulfill for a month and then, you'll have 3 business day payouts. And this goes for all new stores. Even if I started a new store, same company, same person as the director, it's still 7 business days payout. So obviously this is the gap. So day 1, you get paid, and then, the gap thing is there where you don't get paid actually into your bank from Shopify for 10 to 12 days. That's why I always recommend you have a safety buffer of like 500 to 1.5, even $2K there that you don't touch. Now, if you do find winners, that's going to help you scale it, because obviously you will need money for actually scaling your products. Now, as you can see with my first student, he had a 1K day in under 2 weeks. But then obviously cash flow issues was a thing shortly after. He didn't have enough buffer there, so it kind of affected the way we scaled and also testing as well. Now he's been live for 2.5 months and his cash flow solid, getting paid out every 3 business days. And, he's obviously been running on higher margins. So it was much easier for him to build up his bank, his cash flow. And obviously, as you can see, he got 1K days within his first 8 to 9 days of being live, with 40% margins, which is amazing, which is like $400 that day in pure profit. Then obviously he ran into cash flow issues here, as you can see. And we obviously had to scale back from 1K days to $400 days, but we still kept the margins decent and, doing about 30% margins, which is nice. Then obviously the bounce back after that was, better payouts. He hit even a 2.4K day in USD. And this was with about, I think, 35% margins. He had about $700 in profit in one day. Bearing in mind, this was a beginner and he literally jumped into the game and, he's crushing it right now. Now here I brought it all together for you guys and I've got some student results actually to share after. Now obviously this is the bare minimum you should be expecting really to spend on month 1. The goal is to find a winner ASAP before even your testing budget runs out. Now, as I said, the $500, this is for setup costs, and this is before you even test any products. Now, 1.3K is obviously for your testing. This is not even including if you want to scale a winner. This is just testing. You know, worst case, if you do run out of cash, it's better to stop testing if you've found winners and just focus on the winners and scale those with the extra cash you have. Now, obviously, what I recommend for actually scaling is about $1 to $2K on the side. Now, this should be good for about month 1 and even month 2. This is obviously all dependent on you, how fast you're scaling, how much you scale up to. And obviously, when you scale, maybe you're scaling after month 1, so your payouts are much easier. So it's a lot easier on your cash flow. So it's obviously dependent, but this is usually what I recommend, about 1 to 2K there for scaling if you do catch on to winners. Now, as I said, the goal is to find a winner before the testing budget even runs out. Once you found the winner, that product starts paying, you know, for the next round of ads and to scale it. As long as you're running on decent margins, like you don't want to be scaling and you're doing break even or even 10% margins, because it's going to take longer to build up the bank, and also it's going to be harder to scale because you're not getting enough profit actually to reinvest. Now, obviously, scaling costs beyond ads, you know, potential investments. This is obviously later. VA costs, more funnels, you know, all of this should come from your profit and not really from your starting budget. Now, and also this is one of the biggest things, is the reinvestment mindset. Do not pull money from the moment you see profit. Don't take money out your business. Scale what's working, find next winners, keep reinvesting. Like even when you get to 10, 20K days, you're going to need even more cash. You know, imagine you're doing 20K days and Shopify is paying you 3 business days. You're going to need about 30K in a bank, even 40K, just to be able to maintain your ads and scale. So this is something to note. You always want to be in that mindset of reinvesting, keep putting money back into the business and not just pulling money out for lifestyle or to travel to another country. Obviously that stuff comes later, but the main focus at the start is getting to 100 to 300K months with nice profit margins. Now here I got some student results. Obviously my first student, Marvin, was talking about him before, but you know, he got to 1K days in just over a week. I think it was his 8th or 9th day being live. Then he had cash flow issues. This is why this video is so important, because even my own current students have been through this. Then his first 2 weeks live, he managed to do 9K USD revenue with 25% margin. So he's already making the same money as someone in a 9 to 5 in his first 2 weeks of getting started with e-commerce, which is crazy. And now he's obviously doing 2K days, even more than that, as you can see. And obviously he's running on good margins. Now here we got my guy Sam. On his first day, he got his first sale. But yeah, that obviously wasn't too profitable. Then literally on his 3rd day, he managed to do $230 in revenue. And on his 5th day, he went to 500. You know, so you can see the constant upgrade, as you can see here, plus 50%, plus 100%. And then his first official 1K day was literally 2 weeks from him going live on that 14th day. And now he's doing consistent over 1K days, doing about 20, 30% profit margin. So, you know, you can see with the right guidance there and also, you know, the right strategy that you can get to these numbers very fast and it's not unachievable for anyone. Now, my first student, Seppi, so obviously first day he went live, it went absolutely crazy. This is his first funnel, by the way. This is his first product. You know, we only tested one product on the first day and he literally done $300 in that day. And he only spent about $50 on that ad. So, you know, he had like 50% margins on that. Then literally on his 5th day, he done $680 with good margins. I think he had about 40% margins on this. And then literally his first 1K day in under a week from going live. This was on his 6th day and he had 40% margins again. So as you can see, like these people are also all beginners as well. And they're literally scaling to these numbers, which is, you know, it's crazy. Now, if you want to get to this point and you want someone in your corner who's going to point you out on your mistakes, cash flow issues and scaling cash flow issues, like my current students actually had. There's a link in the description and you can book a call there and we can see if you're a right fit. Now I can guarantee you'll get to 1K days within the time that we work together. Now obviously I only work with a small amount of people just because I only do this on the side of running my own stores myself. Now let me wrap it up by saying this. Now the minimum budget you need to start is at least $2 to $3K. Now obviously this depends on, if you have a 9 to 5 with monthly income coming in where you can reinvest, because some people don't have that. So if you don't have that and, you have like your last 2K, technically it can work, yes, but the chances of you running into issues with cash flow and stuff is highly likely. So I always recommend that even if you do have only 2K there, or maybe even 1.5K there, that you have a job that's monthly giving you income where, you can reinvest 500,000, even 2K a month back into your business. Now, bearing in mind, this is like the bare minimum that you need. Now, a lot of people say you can start with $500, but in reality, they're just selling you something so that you're going to join their mentorship. Now, obviously, I run my own stores. Like, I'm not really fussed who joins my program, but it's just got to be a right fit. If you're coming to me with $500, $1,000, I'm going to tell you straight that there's no chance that you're going to be able to scale and even test a lot of products. So it wouldn't be worthwhile my time and also yours of us actually getting started. Now another thing is also the mindset thing, is that a lot of people look at e-commerce or even online money as it's not a proper business, but in reality it is. Now think about this, you want to start maybe a corner shop or a restaurant. How much money realistically are you going to need to start this? 50K, 100K, maybe even more, who knows? And you're probably not even going to be profitable for a year, 2 years, even 5 years. I think statistically most businesses aren't profitable until their 3rd year. So people come into e-commerce with this mindset of they want to start with $200 or $500 or even 1K. But it's like, if you actually wanted to start a business outside in the real world, how much are you going to need to start? So I find it funny that people won't be willing to invest 2, 3, 4K into their own business to make online money that's going to make them far more than a restaurant. And also they're going to have the time freedom, the location freedom, and be much more profitable and be dealing with less staff, less headache. So many reasons why that, e-commerce is a good business to start. And also just make sure that you have enough for, your bills and stuff, because if you're putting your last money in and, you live by yourself and you don't live with your parents and you're paying bills and stuff, then, that is going to be stupid if you're going to put your rent money in, because the chances are, bro, you're going to get evicted from your house and it's not going to work out. So that's just some advice that I have personally from what I've seen also in the space. So there it is, the honest breakdown of what you actually need to start funnel dropshipping in 2026. Now obviously it's around $500 depending on if you need the Facebook structure or not. The testing budget for the first month is around $1.3K. That's spending around $50 a day on ads. And also cash flow buffer is around 1 to 2K USD. And that's just so that those Shopify payout gaps doesn't determine you from scaling or actually testing more products. So the total is somewhere between 2 to 3K dollars. But I must make this clear that this is literally the bare minimum that you need. Now, some of my students even had more than this, and that's how they was able to scale so fast without running into those cash flow issues. Now, just think about it like this. More budget means more room to test, more room to scale, and just scaling the business as fast as you can, because business is about speed at the end of the day. If all you have is $500 right now, please don't rush it, and just go work a 9 to 5, stack some money, and come back to it and give it your all. And if you're at the point where you have the budget and you're ready to do this the right way, I have a link in the description. It literally takes 2 minutes and I'll check your situation and see if you're a right fit. I only work with a small amount of people alongside running my own stores. Last month was 400K. The month before that was 300K. Funnel dropshipping is exactly what I do and how I run my stores and also how I teach. So if you're serious, apply now and let's get to work.